Let's go back in time. Notice the timestamp, March the 7th, 2011. It began 5 days that forever changed this planet and started it on a downward spiral. But starting March 7th, 2011, a series of 4 solar coronal mass ejections, multiple solar flares, including an X1.3 on March 9th, sent multiple solar blasts toward Earth. On March 11th, as the impacts peaked, the Fukushima earthquake struck. Now a third of the oceans are dying, and that is the Pacific. It is a third of our oceans. The radioactive leaks are worse than ever, and they have no way to stop them. Now, before I play this video, let's move forward 2 days. At the top, Earth-orbiting satellites have just detected an impulsive X1 class solar flare. Next paragraph. A coronal mass ejection that we're about to watch exploded from the vicinity of sunspot 1164 during the late hours of March 7th. It leapt away from the sun, traveling 2,200 kilometers per second, making it the fastest CME since September 2005. They're saying that a movie prepared by Carl Battens shows that it possibly substantial Earth impact on the 9th or 10th, and it said it could brush the Earth and watch for auroras. It did not mention watch for earthquakes. That's why this video is so important. What you were seeing is a series of 4 CMEs from all the corners of the sun during the 7th and the 8th. On the 9th, which you cannot see here, was an X flare. This is going back to the 7th. That's the one they were worried about the most. Now, what happened, again, they said the Earth was still reverberating from those shock waves. Let's look at it from the SDO, which you can see the surface of the sun from. There in the top right was that first blast that we saw on the 7th. Then we go through the flares and the CMEs up until the 9th. Notice how many flares there were and that they were very strong. This is also Earth-facing SDO images. I'm going through it in these steps because anyone can do it. That's the point. Hundreds of thousands of lives could be saved if they would start using this technology in the early warning systems for earthquakes, not just auroras and geomagnetic storms. Notice this. Again, March 9th, there's the X flare that we were looking at in the top of the paragraph. An impulsive X1, it was 1.3. Now let's go forward 2 more days. Friday, March 11th, D-Day. It says Earth's magnetic field is still reverberating from a CME strike on March 10th. During the past 24 hours, northern lights have descended as far south as Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan. Now, many of you know, but the first thing you have to do is watch the SDO, the stereo, and the SOHO satellites. You see that. You can also see it as it crosses the A satellites. That was the chart we were watching. Now, these are not from that event, but these are the tools that we use. That was the coronal mass ejection, what we call the flare tracker. Also, we watch the magnetopause. That's this instrument. This happens to be when CERN first cranked up, and look at the distortions. That's an entirely different factor, but you've seen us talk about it in many videos. But once that happens, once these events leave the surface of the sun, again, large solar flares and CMEs strike the Earth's shields, compressing the tectonic plates along the quake fault zones. That's where it's felt. That's where we see all the big quakes happen. That's the main reason. There's another one, and that's in a different video. But again, these are the shields of the Earth. The top incoming, the bottom outgoing. It has a charge. Now you're seeing the entire shields of our planet, the magnetosphere, the magnetotail, and you're seeing the incoming effects, guys. When you have this type of energy, and by the way, the sun's magnetic lines are highly charged and of the opposite polarity of the Earth's. They strip back sections of our shield each time we encounter theirs during one of these solar storms. Notice how it peels it back. We've seen it many times before. But the sun has its magnetic lines of force, especially during these charged events. But remember, you have to observe it, watch the satellites, then on Earth you will know because of the auroras, but by then it will be too late because that pressure will have arrived. The Fukushima earthquake struck at this time, March 11th, 2011, on the day we were talking about. Tokyo time is UTC plus 9 hours. This would put it at 2:46 p.m. in the afternoon as Japan was broadside to the sun. This is why it's so important to tie all of this information together, all the data from all the satellites into one software program that would give us accurate timing and accurate location points. In other words, what side of the planet will be Earth facing at the ETA. Now, they give us that on the CME trackers, and it's a plus or minus 7 hours, but they're not looking for the tectonic plate pressure. They're looking for geomagnetic storms, things that can affect our satellites, our electronics, our banking system, any of our electronics. The electrical system could be wiped out by one of these, just like it was in the Carrington event. But by someone being aware that's in this organization that you see here, NOAA and some of the other ones, the SDO, NASA, then this should start to be applied, because it can save hundreds of thousands of lives. If the people in Fukushima had this warning system, in other words, we have 4 powerful coronal mass ejections, we have a series of flares, including a strong X flare coming directly Earth facing, and it will arrive at 2:46 p.m. in the afternoon. That's what it should say. We have got enough satellites up there to measure the distance as it crosses each system, especially the ACE. It is set there for that very purpose. But again, they don't tie it into earthquakes. And the big earthquakes like we saw here, you have tsunamis every time if it's offshore. Once you get into that 9.0 range, guys, it gets really bad. 15,891 people were confirmed dead as of April 10th this year. That's by Japan's National Police Agency. 2,500 are still missing. But less than an hour after the earthquake, the first of many tsunami waves hit Japan's coastlines. The tsunami waves reached up to heights as the waves surged inland above sea level up to 128 feet, 6 miles inland. It overtopped seawalls. It created this large whirlpool. But by calculating the speed of these solar explosions, using the ACE solar satellite and the others, and determining the impact area that would be exposed to the sun-facing impact zone, thousands of lives could have been saved there, and a possible safe shutdown warning time given to the nuclear plants. Again, the flare was on the 9th. It hit on the 11th. That's 48-hour time. It needs to be addressed. Again, hundreds of thousands of lives could be saved. And if there was, that would have been enough shutdown time at least for the nuclear plants to prepare, backup power or whatever. We could have avoided the disaster that is probably going to end life as we know it on this planet.
Guys, thanks for watching. This is a re-upload from a video from a few years ago that I had a request to find and put the info back up. But again, it's a heads up. We are bottoming out of solar cycle 24. Things will be getting very interesting as we rise into solar cycle 25, starting probably in 2020. It's a heads up. Be safe.